Good morning, David. Good evening, David.
Hello, I just didn't hear that because it tells you lots of little messages as you join.
Okay, I just said good evening.
Thank you. Yes, it is. It's 5:30, a long day. And you, good morning.
Yes, yeah, I'm just starting. Yeah, I've been up since 5:30, so
Why?
sometimes that happens. When I wake up, I need to get up. So there's always something, there's always a reason. So I got in exercise this morning I would not have gotten otherwise. So
Very good, very good. Yeah, that's the one thing I'm missing today, actually. Exercise. I've been sitting in front of a computer all day. I should have gone out. It's going to be cloudy and stormy for the next few days. I should have gone out, but well, such is life.
yeah, yep, yep. So why are you not, you're not teaching kids right now? You said you weren't employed, so.
Yeah, I should not have to work until January. And obviously if it takes off before January, then I don't have to work. But the plan is to write the book and move the book if I can go forwards with it and come up with some scale use cases. But my focus is nearly 100%. Okay, it's about 80%, 90% on the book.
Yeah, okay. And from I just left a call on marketing books, and that year will be 90% marketing too once the book is written.
Well, so because I've designed the system, I don't like marketing. I think it's all rubbish.
I know, and that was the discussion. You don't get help, so if you want to sell it, you're going to have to do the work.
Yeah, I'm more convinced we help each other. But once we realize that if we help each other, there's lots of people trying to help us. If you're trying to do it yourself, then it's basically one person trying to do it.
Well, that is how the one person does it, is getting other people to help. But it is a full-time job, is what it is.
Yes, I know. But I that's why I'll probably end up working in January, because that's not how I'm going to do it. So, and the chance that I won't work, and it's like, I know, but what do you want me to do about it?
Yeah, no, I've got books too, and I don't spend the time marketing that I should. It was really amazing to me to find somebody who actually had bought and read my book in my town. That was a shock. Yeah.
You recommended Jeremy Lent's book, but you didn't recommend yours.
Yes, that's true. Well, there we all are.
Isn't that the reality? Isn't that the reality? Crazy.
Yeah. Yep. Yep.
Still getting together here.
So
good afternoon.
So this is Robert and David Pinto, and Ani Ahava is on her way.
I am, and here I am.
There she is.
Hi, David. Well, you've got a nice face. I like it. It's a nice smile.
Yeah, that's right. Bald means the other features are quite exaggerated. When I get a pimple, it's a massive bloody bump. Smile.
Where are you?
I'm in Portugal just now, on the west coast, on the Atlantic.
I didn't get your first word. Where are you? I'm sorry?
Portugal.
Oh, Portugal.
Yeah.
Oh. Were you born there?
No, my parents were both Portuguese, but I was born in Scotland.
All right.
Which is the accent you hear.
Nice. Well, welcome.
Thank you. And you?
Yeah, I'm a little late because I was printing out the deep dive instruction that Catherine you sent to us, and we certainly have a chance to talk about that.
Yes. Yes. So I want to, in fact, why don't we do that right now? I wanted to share that we've been talking about how to introduce people to what we do. And so this is,
Could I take the lead here for just a second?
sure.
Because I've got it right here and I've certainly
Okay.
got some immediate feedback.
Okay. I figured you might.
The first thing you said is this deep dive is not a discussion or dialogue. And it's both of those things. It's not a conversation. It definitely is discussion where we go back and forth, and dialogue where we're trying to get to a central truth that we resonate with. So it's not conversation.
Okay.
It is discussion back and forth, and dialogue where we're moving into and through something that's deeper in us all, that we're trying to get clear about. It's either true for us or not, or but then to have that dialogue. I submit that humbly.
So that is a perfect example of what we do.
Yes, it is. Jump right in there and do it.
Just exactly that. But it's also not a place to, we really want to focus on just exactly what Ani was doing, with our sharing our understanding and the deepest meaning. I think the meaning is really, for me, the key piece of what we do, that we're seeking things that are meaningful for us and for each other. So it's the search for meaning, however we do that, whatever the form is. But that's really what it is. So we don't share projects or business much, except to ask for help, which we've done. And we're really focusing on just understanding our world and whatever comes up. So the example that Ani gave is absolutely perfect, because that is exactly the process that we used. Things are put out and then they're explored.
Could I go to sentence number 2?
Sure.
How many of these sentences are there?
Not many.
1, 2. Well, you've already got the first one. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 more sentences, but they're very short.
Okay.
Do you have a without share what's coming up for you about this?
I have experience with Quaker practices, and I'm familiar with non-conversational engagement.
Okay, yeah, we don't have conversational engagement. We have, this is a deep dive. This is a deep dive into soul realm,
Yeah.
global perspective. Yeah, inner what's coming up stuff.
Okay, can I just, Annie, I don't know if my accent is causing a disturbance, but I don't know if you can hear what I'm saying.
Yes.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah, it's nice. I like your accent.
I don't know how familiar people are with Quaker practices.
Can you relate Quaker practices to this deep dive discussion, dialogue, interchange, personal growth, collective mind?
It was a process begun by George Fox in
No,
1636.
I don't want the history. I know the history. What's meaningful to you in this situation right now that you'd like to share with us?
It's about
the Quaker practice and how it relates to where you are right now and what we're doing.
I think it's a deep transformative practice.
Yeah,
Yeah, I sensed a kind of irritation with the process that we were starting with in terms of exploring the introduction.
I thought it was we're listening to these 5 statements and then reflecting on them. That I'm happy to do.
No,
It's
we're-
important.
And
It's important to us just because we are starting to open the group to other people, and we've already had a couple of experiences where people did not understand what we were doing and came in to tell us what they were doing. And that's sort of fine, but it actually needs to happen within the context of exploration instead of as a presentation or a topic of conversation. So that's kind of what we're trying to get, to figure out how to help people step into this place and feel warm and welcomed, but not take it over with their particular whatever it is, which is normal in so many public places where you meet new people. You get really into, gee, I'm into this, and we should all do this, and this is the way we're going to save the world. And we really didn't want to do that. So we're trying to figure out how to create a space that is welcoming and open, and also encouraging people to go deeper and to leave that part of their familiar public space somewhere else.
and,
can I say something? I hear a lot of expository words. And for me, that isn't it at all.
Oh, all right.
And I object to your use of the word trying. I would
Okay.
like to inject into here that over the past year, we have created a
Yes.
space
Yes.
where the 3 of us, oftentimes with Karen for a long period of time, have had this open space where we can share our hearts. Now, it isn't just heart sharing. In the process, we sometimes get into exploring, expositating, whatever the word would be, voicing, various things about the natural world, about the human world, that comes out as fact, and there's history even that comes up. But I dare say it starts so much deeper than that. It's when we've shared our hearts together that something is created among us that we can then explore from. But it's shared. And I think the issue that we discussed last week is simply that if somebody like David pops into the midst of this without knowing what we're doing, particularly if we try to explain it, which is almost impossible, that's where, but if there's some way that we can just show that, give a space where the heart starts. And I think I've never been in a Quaker service, but I've always understood that to be at the base of what, the Quaker sharing is the space is created within which, something can emerge. It's all emergent process, and it can take many different forms. Now that explains exactly what we have been doing. And maybe we were trying at the beginning of the year, over a year ago, but now I don't see that. We just go right into it. And we're entertaining the idea that it's time, that we start seeing how other people could join us. But I've always, as I mentioned last week, as far as I'm concerned, if it's just the 3 of us forever, that's important for me. I've got other things going on, as each of you do, but I cherish what we do in this grouping. And it would be fine, but on the other hand, would be absolutely wonderful to have people join us. Like David, I'm already very attracted to your smile, so they'd be very welcome to join us. That's how I see it. I don't like to get boggled down in words.
nice. and the overall holding it together is resonance, that each of us is committed to dialoguing in such a way and sharing in such a way and listening in such a way that we can maintain a vibrational coherence and feel it. And that's why we like this. And the three of us have found a way to just be deliciously resonant in all of our individualistic sharings.
Beautiful. Do you want to go on with the step 2, 3, 4, 5, and then springboard into your experience?
We're already there.
Okay.
So yes, and so I would like to put out something that I've been noodling on, and that came up in another call that I was on recently, and that's my feeling of urgency around actually working with the planet, the hands-on dirt thing. And I know, Robert, all of us garden and that kind of stuff. And there's a resistance to that. A lot of people don't feel like that's their thing. They've built their life in another direction, which is maybe part of the problem, but it's also part of the shift. I think it's going to be something that maybe we're going to be actually pulled into, whether we like it or not, as time goes on, that we're going to need those skills again, even people who haven't had them. So how to talk about that in a way that's enticing? People, I've been getting pushback about, well, maybe I don't want to do that. Maybe I want to do something else. I want, and there's certainly other things to do. But anyway, just thinking on that.
I'd like to talk about that with us in this group. I don't think we really have talked about, focus on hands in the dirt.
Well, so much of what I've been learning in terms of the shifting that needs to, and the way I hold it in my head, the changes that we've made to the planet already have shifted some of the balancing things that she's had in place. So like anything that's in free fall, she's looking for a balance. She's trying to reorganize to figure out how that is. We've got a choice. We can let her do it. She's going to. It's not like we can stop her. That's been the mythology. But at the same time, we're also here and are part of that system. So we can have an influence should we choose to. But we have to work with what's already happening, because we can't stop. We can't tell her to cool down. But we can increase the cooling capacity that's still here. That we can do. That's within our physical possibilities. Understanding the water biome and how plants transpire and trees transpire and how that makes rain. Trees make rain, actually. They're really the major rainmakers on the planet. It's not common knowledge. We like forests, but we don't really see the benefit that they have. So we can keep forests and we can make forests. Those are our activities within our purview that we as a human system can really have an impact on. And that's hands in the dirt kind of stuff. You got to learn what plants live where you are. You have to put the original plants back. You can tend what's there. But this is all hands in the dirt stuff. This is paying attention to our true biological ecosystem wherever we are and enhancing its capacity to live, whatever that takes. And that is an action people can take. But not many people are interested or really know how to do it. And they got other things to do, They're making work, they're making a living, they've got kids, whatever, that distract them from that, because we're not integrated it's a separate thing at this point in our history. So how to open that space and encourage people to step into it in a way that's meaningful.
Yeah, well, I'll talk a little bit about that. I feel like I'm at a disadvantage in our neighborhood here because, you know, I'm retired. Most of the others that I know aren't. And so that becomes a major blockage for them. I think a lot of the actual influence is not spoken at all. It's the fact that we've allowed our trees to grow together. We have copses of 10 to 20 trees here and there on our collective property. I live in Atlanta, David, and I live in a townhome complex. It's not a big one. It's 13 homes, but our place is often thought of as a park. People walk into our park, our main lawn, and sit. To me, that's the primary garden in my consciousness, is to make sure that that's tended and cared for, because it beckons people, animals. They come through all the time. We also have a vegetable and flower garden, but it's kind of behind gates and fences. So, you know, you can look over the fence and see it. But no, the one they really are attracted to, and the young boys sort of climb down into the little creek that runs through it, which I'm told we have to chase them off because of, you know, insurance liability. You know, that gets at my heart. I mean, where did I play when I was a kid? Always in that stream. You know, I mean, so, you know, I think there are obvious ways to start to allow this to, you know, encourage this sensing, you know, to develop among the people we know, you know, without mentalizing it. See, that's what concerns me. We start talking about in too many words, you know, mentalizing it rather than just, you know, expressing and feeling the life that's in it. I mean, it's the life that's important.
Yep.
The fact that these trees living together live. I mean, they thrive. Whereas trees in everyone else's neighborhood, you know, all along the neighborhood, everyone else's yard where they have a front lawn that, you know, is attracting heat, reflecting heat, and the trees are specimens sitting by themselves. They're all, you know, showing signs of trouble. And we're right in the city. You know, it can be done here. The most thriving areas, I've shown you, Catherine and Ani, you know, a painting I did of just a quarter mile away, looking up into a forest corridor, you know, that runs through along the river, a creek that runs through these neighborhoods. And that corridor supports foxes and coyotes and 100-year-old, I don't know how old they are, but, you know, old snapping turtles, because they're big ones. But nobody ever sees them because they're zooming along the highway, you know, the road that's just runs through the neighborhood. You know, this is where I'm focused to work. And then I bring it up, you know, report on it to groups like ours, or, you know, wherever I happen to be talking to people. So it isn't just to my neighbors, but I think it's most effective when we're talking hand to hand, because I see some of my neighbors actually taking actions within their backyards to improve the overall environment. But this is not a small thing. I mean, I get very worried when people start expounding you know, these great programs. Because I'm wondering, between Taylor Swift and the program, what are they actually going to pay attention to? You know, I mean, it's an unfair advantage for most. So, yeah, I think it's almost a guerrilla influencer. You know, you get in where people live and show them and take them by the hand. Even over Zoom. I mean, you can do that figuratively. You know, to take this very seriously, you know, what is it that we can do? And I've worked within the UN system, you know, 20, 30 years ago, and saw just how limited that became.
They are doing new things, by the way.
Oh, a lot stems from that, and I think it's very influential, but it's not going to finish. It's not going to finish the work.
Right.
You know, it can't work at the local level.
Yeah.
I'd really like to hear what you have to say, David, at this point in reference to whatever is coming up in you.
Okay. When people talk a lot, there's a lot to follow, and so it's like a jungle, and so hands in the dirt is definitely good and local, as Robert, you're saying, and it's how do, and Catherine was talking about people's resistance to doing things, like just literally putting your hands in the dirt, doing something locally, and it has to be made more attractive. I did have a few thoughts that went off that relate to what I'm trying to do, but they are a little bit further along the line because they're to do with ownership.
Mm.
Once people get ownership of land, then they have much more of an interest to get involved, getting their hands in their dirt.
Yeah.
So, and for me, that is not actually private land, but it is collective land.
Right.
So I can talk about this if certain things progress in life, and by 2030, we have something like 100,000 people that are sharing across the world their land, their houses. Of course, they're living in their own house, and the chances are their children might end up in that house. But the point is, it's owned collectively, and it's part of a kind of like a distributed housing co-op. And that also goes for land. So potentially we go and live and we work on land that is shared, that is ours. Mm-hmm. And so we escape from the geographic limitations that Robert's talking about having to deal with neighbours, but we are connecting up collectively. So perhaps I could go and visit Robert, and see my land, or Robert could come and visit me and see our sea and take part. Okay, and so there's something about that which I think is a primary dimension to it. Mm-hmm. And the idea of, for example, owning vast quantities of forest sounds no, collectively liberating it from traditional ownership. I think it's the way. And that means that anybody that puts any money in to rent is effectively paying for the transformation of ownership of land to collective stewardship of land. So, yeah, but do you see, it's quite far from right now. People are resistant. I'm like, yeah, I know. Okay, I literally, had barrows and had manure, and wander about with it. And that's what I did for a few years. And nobody pays attention. You know, everybody's talking about this, talking about that, talking about, and you go, okay, I'm just going to get some manure in the barrel and wheel it from place to place for the plants. Okay. So, so I do find, and so it is tricky. It's tricky to do. What do we do actually right now? And I think we have to improve, as Catherine's trying to do, improve regenerative leadership. That's why I think I know Catherine, her values and what she's been attempting to do and now refocusing on. And that's why I'm here. I have great respect for Catherine, what she does and who she is. And if I can help improve people's engagement with Catherine so that more people are listening, more people are trying to do things. Okay, and that's the trick. We actually have to have some jobs to do so that they can get social validation. And so I can go waffling on. But that's why I'm here. I'm here to help Catherine. And you, Paul. You know.
Beautiful. Beautiful. We're with you in that. Yeah, I'm so grateful that she provided this forum for us. This is her initiative that we're here. I'm just trying to find a wad of money I have here in the apartment somewhere I can't find to share some of it with her. I can't find it yet.
She put it somewhere safe. And it is definitely safe.
Yeah. And it's your name that's on my lips when I'm looking for it.
It's actually under the house. It's actually the house. Okay. So the reason why I say it's for kind of the future, because I think that we have to work on virtual things first, I feel, and get people sharing things.
Yeah.
Huh?
Like-minded people. I mean, we need that support ourselves. It's certainly what I have found on Zoom. I mean, yeah. I think it's harder in some ways to find people around you. I'm making little forays into that. But there's been, it's the deeper understanding, you know. I mean, gardeners are wonderful people, and then they resist doing things together. They resist doing things that don't fit into their particular way, and they're not thinking about their contribution to the greater good. They're just enjoying their hands in their dirt and their flowers and their vegetables, and aren't really thinking on a global scale or even on a slightly larger scale, and don't understand why they need to even. So there's something about the Zoom space where you can find people who at least get the bigger picture and you feel validated for what you're doing and for your perspective in that. And that's really useful. It really is useful. I mean, it really helped me during COVID for sure. And that was actually a wonderful experience to force me to find so many different people who really are on the same page. And there's tons of us. And every group wants to do something. I mean, that's the other thing that comes, you know, when you get together, it's like, what can we do? What can we do? And we're not local. So what can we do gets to be really kind of murky in terms of what we can do. But I think we're figuring out that. I think that's one of the things about the three of us, and I hope about the network, is to hang together long enough to begin to see how our togetherness is a doing space, even though it may not happen here. That there are things that will come out of that, that we feel supported here enough to be able to do in other spaces.
If I may reiterate what you just said as an axiom, I think that's right. Axiom. I don't know, but our togetherness is a doing space. I love that.
Yeah.
So put that in, your invitation to people.
Okay.
This group
Okay.
is- And we're not on that page yet, but we're at the beginning of that.
We are, right.
And we can't know yet what that doing will be,
Right.
except as it unfolds as we do this.
Yep.
I think it's also a growing space. We're
Yeah.
all growing. I mean, I may be approaching 80 years old, but I'm still expanding in consciousness, every day. And it's not just growing of plants, and it's not just feeling oneness with the animals. That just is sort of a given. Once, I myself am feeding my body, mind, and heart and spirit, and feeding it and receiving what's being given to me, because Annie and Catherine, you have given freely for a long time now, and I am responding to that, and my whole being is growing accordingly. And I share that with many other people. And as I'm sure you both do as well, in your own way, we do different things. So that's definitely a doing. The fact that I get my hands dirty almost every day is actually a small part of it, because it's just a small plot out in the back. And it's on common land, by the way, David. So if you want to move in here, you have absolute right to it. But it's surprising how few people take advantage of that. There are a few. And my wife and I just keep working it. And we have one other neighbor who's next door, and she's away right now, but she works it pretty consistently, quite consistently. So, I see that as a holding pattern maybe, but, people do notice. I'm very aware of that. I mean, in Atlanta, there's also a group that does something a little bit further out. I mean, there's Trees Atlanta, and they're planting trees around the city. And, I haven't done that, but that's similar to what I'm talking about. It's very similar. And they have fun with it. They have a big ball each summer, where they have a big dance, which people come to and get wild. That's an important part of it. It's not just some concentrated effort that, is dry. No, it's full of life and joy at the same time. That's what I think's missing in a lot of intellectual discourse.
Absolutely. Yeah.
These sorts of things.
Yeah.
And I appreciate the deep dive so much. This deep dive is my anchor of the week. I mean, Fridays at 9:30 is like, that's the cornerstone of my I'm not sure how to put it. It's my anchor. It's like, because what we're cultivating, what we're fostering is, first of all, a commonality. I mean, our group, who we are, it's like we're common land. I mean, we're sharing our own common land with each other. The land being our bodies, our souls, our hopes, our needs, our heart needs. And that is a fertile soil to me. That's the only fertile soil we can. That's, to me, this kind of commonality is the only fertile soil out of which can can arise an initiative that can be helpful to the world, so to speak. And other groups that I've wanted to be in, tried to be in, and experimented with, it's missing this as a base to me. For me, I mean, just for me, I mean, this is my anchor.
I went out to a guy's farm Wednesday. He's got an acre. And he has really used that acre. So he's got fruit trees, he's got apples and pears and peaches. He's got beds. He gives a ton, how many? I forget how many tons he said. I mean, how many pounds? Thousands of pounds of food every summer he gives to the food bank that he grows on his little acre. He and his retired wife. And he belongs to a church, and he's gotten a community garden started there. They have 50 beds for people. And he's just so filled with the joy of what he can do and how he can make it work better. And he's developed his own composting system, which is what he was sharing on Wednesday. And he's just so into it. And he's so Christian. And what went through my mind is how close we are and how to include that. Because it's kind of a divider in a way, you know, and yet everything else is there. His heart's there, his actions are there, and his mind has another little piece over here. And how to make that okay, because it's got to be at a certain point of time. We can't keep pushing people away. There's got to be a way to figure out how to include folks, because we're going to have to do that. I mean, we're still in a place, and you got to work with the people around you, whether you like them or not. They're there. Robert knows this. And so how to do that, how to bring forward that shared space. And I mean, gardening can really do it, because when people do share a garden space, you can at least go out and work and do that and kind of forget the rest of it. But it was such an interesting, I mean, we had such a connection. And I know that if we talk further, that some of the things I'd say would just make it really hard for him. It would just test some of the things he thinks. He wants to cut down a linden tree. And my response is, well, talk to it, tell it. And he didn't kind of hear that. He just let that go. And he doesn't want to, but he's being told, you know, that the tree should be 30 feet away. They had fires very close to them. So he's conscious that it could be there. It's not an impossibility.
I didn't get that. Could you try again?
And then he doesn't know. I mean, it would just be, from my perspective, be a much richer space for him to be able to engage with those plants he cares so much about on a more complete level. But it's so foreign to how he understands it. Even though he functions from that space, his mind is not there, his head is not there. And so he can't do those things. He is those things, but he doesn't know he is those things. And it's just,
I'm not sure I understand.
oh, shut up. It's just such a conundrum, and it really hurts my heart, because I feel like it would help him. It would extend what he already knows. It would bring forward what he already knows in a very real way. And yet the work to do that, to get through all this other stuff that he has in the middle between where he actually lives and all the stuff he thinks he knows, is just, you know, lots of work. It's a big shift. And I don't know how to bridge that, to create that connection that would really be serviceable, except to not say things, you know, just let it go. David?
What would the result be if he did make that connection?
No, there's a good question. What I see in my mind is a huge light that would just permeate his being, instead of sort of compartmentalizing some of the things that he has compartmentalized. It would be an integrative thing for him, I do believe. But it would also, I mean, the whole church really is very much, well, the whole church, I can't say that. The people that I've met that he brought in to this group to talk about his composting and to have a little dinner and to share the garden are all very centered on the garden. They are all very much into that. So opening them up to that, I mean, I don't see it as antagonistic, but it does. But I don't know what the rest of the church is like. I mean, I don't know. Again, he's got neighbors too. I mean, this is the whole culture thing, that we're so caught in separation and we're so comfortable with that. When we start being connected again, you start to see things that you can't hide from, that you could hide from when they were separate. And so there's a danger associated with understanding that, because then the things that you could tolerate, you don't want to tolerate, and that makes changes and all of that. And I've always felt really responsible about that, because I can see those things and I can skitter around them for my personal self. I don't feed them, or I can limit my feeding given the situation we're in. But it's kind of a shock to other people's systems sometimes. And I feel responsible for giving them that kind of pain. Even though there is a benefit to it, but dissatisfaction is not a happy place to be, and people handle it differently, you know.
I spent all day most of the day yesterday in researching Thich Nhat Hanh interbeing. And his book is on the way, but I got the 14 principles, values, or whatever of interbeing. That's what I was looking for now. But
oh yeah. Send them to us.
Okay.
When you find them.
Sure. Because I'm so aware, it's like the situation you're speaking of. It's the interbeing part.
Yeah.
How do we do it together as one, where we're kind of sharing the same values, actually. You know, I mean, his 14 principles or values. But anyway, yeah, it's the interbeing part that I want to learn how to do.
Yeah.
Well, let me tell you a story. This week I've been reading a paper that was written by a friend of mine many years ago, and he's dead and gone now. And I used to pretty much idolize him, you know, thinking he was the great master when I was a younger man. I mean, you could still use those words, but I read this paper the other day, considering him as my older brother.
Oh.
And it just changed everything. because what it came across as, it was totally heartfelt and this intimacy of family. And the words just had a totally different meaning to me.
Huh.
Not intellectually, I mean, the same words, but, it touched my heart and soul in a different way. And I think this way we, what's the word I'm looking for? It's the way we receive something in trust that really makes all the difference. If the trust is there, it can start to get through.
Yeah.
Your friend, this gardener, has a trust in his beliefs, his
Right.
perceptions of Christ, of the Christian religion, our church he belongs to. And that's great. It's not the end of it.
Yeah.
Christ has been dead for a long, long time. The church just expands so far. No, we're bigger than that, and yet we're interconnected. That's what got me going, Annie. This interrelationship.
Interbeing,
It's
yeah.
so large and so discontinuous. I think is that the right word? Continuous is what I mean. It never ends.
Yeah.
And I had all these thoughts as I'm reading this paper that was written years ago by a man who's no longer here. I guess you could say the same thing about the Bible or the Quran or whatever, but it's still, in that sense, it's still very much alive, and it's how we become alive within it is the way I look at it. But that's an individual choice. I mean, you can't make that choice for anybody else.
Right. Right.
So to get back to why we're here in this group, because this sort of happens to me whenever we get together by the end of the hour. But anyway, that's just a little aside.
It's very interesting to hear different people's experience. I relate it to people I know. This 80-year-old guy, he's a Christian, done incredible things in his life. He's 80. I respect him immensely. Had long walks, engagements, and so on. And his excitement, enthusiasm for gardening and giving away huge amounts of food. Well, not as much as your person you're describing, but also this enlivening of text as you read it, Robert. The notion of interbeing for me, because I lived with a person who was a lay Thich Nhat Hanh of the Thich Nhat Hanh order. And so she invited us to do I thought it was 14 practices, 14, whatever they were called, and you go through them every 2 weeks or a month or something. So that was interesting, it was nice. We're all good people, as far as I can tell. And we've got a variety of different things that we do, whether it's write papers or grow food in our 1 acre, or, attend or create or become Buddhist, meditation purposes and so on and so forth. And we're all exploring all these different things, apparently. And it's a matter of coordinating ourselves. Coordinating ourselves. And so I'm writing a book, and I've written one version, and I'm editing it, revising it, and it's got aspects of this. But I just wonder how much, when you're reading it, you'll go, oh yeah, that's what I think, or not. How much will resonate or not. And it's going to be interesting to get people's responses, for example, from you, Catherine, if you ever get a chance to read it. However, whatever the book is, it's just a thing. And so one of the processes, I call it, is reflexive reading. And so it's about the people reading. It's not about the actual writing or the author. It's the people reading, you and every other reader. And how does this book get about? And who shares it? The interbeing aspect of it, or the interaction of it. And there's a thing called, I call it intrabeing. Intrabeing, which for me, when you said, Catherine, about this insight about the tree and talk to the tree, they're kind of, it's the co-relationship of existence.
Yeah.
It's just talk. And I thought, yeah, it's intrabeing. We're within the same thing. So we can bypass all this problem with interbeing and just go for intrabeing and just being aware that we are part of everything. Yeah. And so if we play well, we coordinate ourselves with the mental aspects of what we're doing and the relational aspects and the social structure aspects. Okay, and we need to put all those three together. So I met you or re-engaged you just the other day, Catherine, and I've written a little bit, and I'm going to stick it in the book. And it is to do with, it gave me a little bit more precision. I thought, okay, yeah, I can go for this, and I'll include it in the book. And it's to do with how do we get this to happen in an hour? We need to find the minimal thing, okay, that when a person joins in within an hour, something interesting enough happens. They go, wow, this is interesting. And maybe afterwards they do some activities that then the penny drops maybe, or the experience of being in nature, something. And that's why they invite more people to come along. Okay. It's absolutely, when you ask the question, how do we get people? And I'm saying that's absolutely the most critical thing. But we have to provide something, which you guys have a great sense of because you've been cultivating it amongst yourselves. But when somebody turns up, they get such a buzz out of it that they want to bring other people.
Yeah.
Okay, and I've thought about it because another aspect of what I do is an alternative economic. It's a gift economic.
Yeah.
So I talked to Catherine a little bit about it, but I met Catherine 2 years ago. We didn't do much. Okay, but maybe we can do something. We have to experiment and see what happens as a result.
Yeah.
So it's very nice to hear all three of you in different ways and the value that you are. Okay. The trick is, how do we, and I'm 53, how do we integrate certain levels of awareness in age? Okay, in age, awareness like popping up when you're 15 is one thing. Okay, but when it's popping open when you're older, that's like, that's got a different quality to it. And Catherine's been working on this quite a while. So I really want to help with helping to create, to generate. Regenerate is one thing, but to generate with people coming to take part, participate. So I'm not sure how to, and I've written some things and I've shared something. Maybe we could talk about it another time, but it doesn't quite fit into this structure, which is, right. I think it's coming together and sharing. It's more towards Catherine's regenerative leadership and how to move that forward. So, are you interested in doing that, Robert, Annie? Are you? Because when you were walking about, Annie, I thought, oh, you're looking for the money. You got out and you were where's that money? Where's that money?
I already did that this morning.
Every day. Where's that money? Damn it. No, so I get the impression that you do want to support Catherine, or is it support you as a group? What do you think? Is it support Catherine? Are you wanting to support Catherine, or do you want to support yourselves as the collective that you kind of are, and what you kind of got between you?
I want to support humanity, which involves me supporting me, which involves me supporting Catherine, which involves me saying, yeah, please join us. I love your participation in this. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, you're in because you're already in me.
Well, that's nice, but I do have very challenging things. When I say alternative economic, I'm not joking. Okay.
No, he's not. He's really.
It's incredibly challenging to people. And so far, I haven't found the right people. The right people haven't found me to
Yeah.
like move it forwards. Okay.
Yeah.
And so that's why you'll see when I start going, well, this is how it works. People go, really? It is really that simple. Okay. So anyway, so it's for you. Okay, yes. Because for me, I understand. I think we're all committed. It's like the deep transformation network. We're all committed to change. Okay, there are things going on at the global scale, which is just absolutely horrific. Okay, horrific. However, we're okay. Okay, we're not driven by it. We're not mad, and we're like, yeah, okay, and we're balanced enough to maintain our balance. Yeah. So I just want to know how much. I'm going to try and help Catherine because she is trying to do something. She was trying to do things 2 years ago, as I was, and I failed. Okay, I've moved forwards as Catherine has, but Catherine's and you all are a little bit older than me, and therefore, we need to get certain things to happen. Okay.
We're coming to the end of it. That.
Okay. Yeah.
Yep.
So, and I don't know how to present that. So I'll speak to Catherine. I don't know if you want to be involved in that. There are aspects which is challenging, but I would like to co-create. I'd like to co-create with Catherine, and with both of you if you're interested. And if it's not, that's the thing. If somebody takes part and then and then they kind of part, that's a bit of a downer. It's a bit of a downer, and so so we have to kind of be careful about. Okay, so how do we do this? And so I don't know. So I'll speak to Catherine, and if how take part in a session or an activity to see. It's kind of what you're doing now, but with a little bit more transparency and openness so that people can engage, which is I think what you started with. Okay, tried to start with. Okay, but I think we can. I would like to attempt to improve that for you, for us.
Well, David, let me point out that exactly the attitude that you're expressing right now is what I was feeling a year and a half ago, or whenever it was, when Catherine and I started. Yeah. This is what has arisen. Ani joined us a little bit later, and it's all a process. And if you come in and inject something new, I'm all for it. But there's a time when we watch and we wait and we see what occurs and what gels, and I'm all for it. But I think you're right. The next step is for you and Catherine to really talk, since that was the initial connection, and I appreciate that. But I'm in the background, very much so. I suspect Ani is as well.
I'm rarely, well, I don't know. I kind of like the front of the I always sit in the front when I want to hear somebody.
Yeah, it's not a wallflower. No.
And to do the reflexive reading. I love that. Of course.
Yeah. I think that's one of the richnesses of a book group. I mean, I don't know that the word is great, but when people come together to read a book together and to do a reflective reading on the book, it's not just, gee, we got the book done, let's go on to the next one, but it's really to savor the book as you go through and to explore it. It's a wonderful impetus for the kinds of things we do with people that you don't really know and spend a lot of time with. So I think it is one avenue into that kind of thing, very much so. Yeah, it's just.
you're going to be I wish I made these connections myself because I could put them in the book. It would make more sense. But you'll see it's pretty tight. So it's more to do with the moving moment of now.
Yeah.
So it's very interesting. So how does this continue? Does it continue or does it end, or what is your process?
Well, we're actually at time, so we usually just do an hour and come back every week, and it's new and fresh every week. Whatever we do, carry some things forward, but mostly it's just what it is.
I've got a question before we leave for David. I hear you saying like taking something off with you and Catherine.
You know, we've been talking about doing a project, basically creating a 4-hour class in a way to get people involved in this and to have an experience of what this is like, and maybe an experience in their life that is significant enough, to use David's terminology, that they want to both share it and to come back for more. So that's kind of what we're looking at, is how to create that space in a 4-hour time frame that would have that impact. I've got some ideas. He's got some ideas.
Yeah, we only just met the other day. Okay, we met the other day. Okay, we haven't seen each other for like
several years.
Yeah, 2 years. And so we met the other day, and I'm just, and I'm writing my book, and I'm really primed up and ready. So,
so he would be his forward-thinking economic model as part of this. So it's an integration of the work he's done and the work I'm doing, and it is truly different. So it's lots of experiments on many levels to make this happen.
All at the same time. So, would you like to take part in it or no?
Just one thing. I want to play. Okay, I mean, I'm here to play. I'm here to be engaged. So the thought of you going off somewhere, doing something without me, I'm saying I want to play too.
Okay, well, so maybe we'll create a different space though, with a different purpose, so that we can all come together. And if we all want to be there, that's great. And but it would be for a different purpose, so that we're keeping this place for what it is. But yeah.
Okay, let's do that then. Okay, so let's do that. Let's do it another time. And we'll do it for an hour or something or other. Just to share. And I'll come up with, I'll frame some activities that we can do, and perhaps Catherine, you can, or we can brainstorm a few. At the time.
Yeah, I have some thoughts, but I'm not sure that we're in sync. So because we haven't talked, so yeah.
And Annie, you can contribute maybe beforehand as well and prepare, or at the time, and whoever it is that we invite. So. Yeah, okay, let's just set up another hour.
Yeah, because I'm 82, so I need to be involved like now.
Today.
Exactly.
There's only a few tomorrows left. So, okay.
Yes. If we get 10 years out of it, we're doing good.
Lovely.
Amazing. Yeah. Okay, cool. So
okay. So I will think about time and send it out. Because David's 8 hours ahead of us.
It is now 6:40 in the evening. It's now 10:40 for you.
Yeah. And Robert is 3 hours in front of us. So yes. So trying to figure that out. So I'll send something out and see if we can't reconnect.
Well, it's great to meet you, David. And I look forward to learning more about it. And I totally agree that a different format would be best for that.
Yeah.
Because it's not the open-ended, it's a focused group, and I think that's a perfect way to go.
Okay,
See
so
you
I shall
later.
see you another time. Have a good week. Have a good time. Have a good weekend.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.